Welcome to the Porn Reboot podcast, where you get practical tips to gaining control over your porn or sex addiction. We help ambitious men end their out-of-control sexual behavior with pornography, sex, and masturbation so that you can maximize your life, perform at your potential, and remain in control in the driver's seat, which is where you have to be in order to gain or maintain the success you want in life. I'm your host, J.K. Emezi, certified sex and porn addiction recovery coach. Welcome to the episode. Today we're going to talk about why highly successful and affluent individuals rarely seek help for their behavior with pornography and sex addiction. So at Porn Reboot, I've worked closely with a lot of high-performing executives, entrepreneurs, public figures struggling with out-of-control sexual behaviors. Now, you don't have to be one of those individuals, but you do have to be an ambitious individual who's well on the way to becoming a high performer. And what I've seen repeatedly is one thing, and that is that success doesn't protect people from addiction. In fact, it often hides it. So today I'm going to share 10 reasons why highly successful individuals are unlikely to seek help for sex and pornography addiction. And I want to share it with you right now, because even if you may not consider yourself to be one of those individuals, I believe that you will become one of those individuals. If not, you wouldn't be a fan of this podcast. I want you to be ready for that moment so that you have the awareness to recognize that there are now new things that are keeping you from asking for help. And I want to share something with you guys real quick. The same thing happened to me. I'm a person who came from nothing. I worked hard. I overcame my out of control behaviors. I built several successful businesses. And before I knew it, my lifestyle had changed. And I'll be honest with you, it was quite a struggle to go from the mindset of struggling with being in scarcity to all the way to being in success. It became very difficult for me to relate to certain people. Don't get me wrong, I never forgot where I came from. But then again, there were certain places that I went to that the fact remained that the only way I could be there was to be somebody of some level of affluence. And so I would get treated a certain way. And so I started developing these behaviors to mask or hide who I thought I was. So I was still dealing with a little bit of survivor's guilt. Like, man, I made it. I overcame my out of control behavior. I've made some good money. I'm making investments. I'm thinking like a successful person now. But I also remember that when I didn't have money, when I was in survival, I wasn't always the most ethical person. I was pretty judgmental, and I did live in a very mentally negative state most of the time. So I knew when I was around people like that, when I become successful, I had to be very mindful of what I did. And one of the byproducts of that is that even when it came to asking for help, I was very careful. I was like, man, I got to be careful who I ask for help, because what if they don't like me? What if they think I'm privileged? What if they think that a person like me, insert whatever a person like you is, it could be your ethnicity, it could be the way you speak, it could be the way you look, it could be where you're from, it could be your size, your body shape, it doesn't matter. What if they think somebody like me isn't deserving of my success, and I get vulnerable asking them for help and they use that against me? That is the way I relate to this thing that I'm going to share with you guys. So I'm going to put together 10 reasons why highly successful individuals are unlikely to seek help. If you can relate to this, the only point I'm trying to make here is that elevated recovery is a safe space for you to ask for help, because we understand what it's like to be a successful individual or to be a high performer. And we also understand what it's like to come from nothing and nowhere. And we work with both types of people, okay? So firstly is the fear of letting other people down. You know, it's crazy, but successful people are often seen as, these moral, financial, and emotional anchors. So when you admit addiction, it feels like you're shattering that image, especially when, you have a sense of entitlement that has convinced you that, you know what, that kind of stuff can't happen to me. I can't be an addict. I can't get caught doing something as crazy as that. I can't go to prison. I have too many people that are counting on me. Like, there's a lot of responsibility on my shoulders. If you're a business owner, I want you to be very, very careful, especially my business owners. I personally have a six-figure payroll that I need to take care of for the people on my team every single month. So I understand the pressure of knowing as a business owner that you eat last. Be very careful of using some sort of compulsive behavior to feel better about that pressure and then lying to yourself and saying, yeah, it's not that bad. I would never let this out of control because of all these people who got to put their kids through school and I'm responsible for that. Be careful of the fear of letting other people down. The second reason why highly successful individuals are unlikely to seek help is because, bro, you never hit rock bottom. Because when you have money, when you have a little bit of power, when you have some influence, you have some connects, you know, some people who can call somebody, and you know that money can buy you a lot of stuff, that can delay consequences. Having a good lawyer, decent legal team, you know, some PR strategies, you can pay somebody to wipe shit from the internet about you, some financial buffers, you know, you can pay out people. That can often soften the fallout that forces other people into recovery. So then, because you paid money, because you had a good legal team and you knew the right people, you talk to somebody and like, yeah, we can make that disappear for you. Listen, be very careful because sometimes the best thing for you is to actually see the truth for what it is. The third is financial rationalization. You know, seeking help for addictive behaviors is usually dismissed as something that's unnecessary or inconvenient. And this is even while your addictive behavior is just quietly draining your finances. Maybe you're spending money on escorts, you're supporting some chicks' trips on OnlyFans. You know, it's financial domination. You're like, oh, it's my kink, it's my fetish, whatever the fuck you call it. You're having affairs, secrecy, all these impulsive fucking decisions you're doing. All of these things, these financial rationalizations are crazy. Some of you are just like, oh no, you know, like I can't spend money on that. I'm spending the money on investing in something. Or if I was to like seek help and I was to go into some sort of treatment that would take away my edge. I can't take downtime to seek help for my out of control behavior. Do you know the weight of what I'm carrying? Do you know the deals that need to be done? My entire empire would collapse without me. That is financial rationalization. But you out here supporting some random hoe's future. Be careful. The fourth is fear of stepping away from work. And this kind of reinforcing the one I said earlier, but basically your identity is fused with your performance. I'll be the first one to tell you that I get exactly what it's like. I consider myself to be a high performer. I changed my identity from that of a complete loser into that of a high performer. So when it comes to taking time off, I mean, it can feel impossible. So you push harder. Sometimes you're there mixing drugs and sex. You're mixing that Cialis with that Adderall. I've heard people do that. And I've taken both of those things separately in my experimental phase. And to combine those things sounds fucking crazy to me, okay? So listen, be very mindful of pushing yourself with drugs at work, you know, just to keep up appearances. Pushing yourself to do that and to have sex as well, just because you're afraid of stepping away from work. This is one of the things that can get in the way of you seeking help. The fifth is you just don't think you look like an addict. Like, sure, you might be a stud. You're like, man, I don't identify with this stereotype of addiction. You're well dressed, you're respected, you're in control, which makes admitting the fact that you might be struggling, it makes it nearly unthinkable for most people. So, again, don't let your well put together appearance get in the way of you seeking help. The next is reputation risk. So, you know, if you're a person who has some form of visibility, maybe a high visibility, that fear of exposure, of legal records, of, you know, like people being able to search for you and finding out that, hey, you were busted for XYZ, public knowledge, that can lead to deeper concealment instead of you actually seeking help. So there's a lot of reputational risk, and some of you are just afraid, like, man, I might get busted. I want you to know at Elevated Recovery, I will burn our entire file unit down. We don't even have the physical files anymore, except for some of my OGs. And I'm out here in my office in Thailand. I got offices, I'm building offices all over the world, my little private home offices. And I carried my physical files. It's funny, one of our clients said in a session when I said it, I was like, I had to pay so much for baggage to fly because I am not comfortable leaving these files. The files themselves are already redacted. It's physical things I wrote that redacted them, but I'm the only one who can look at it and go like, oh yeah, this is John. Even though all this shit is blacked out, I know exactly what was there. I traveled with all the files, my random notes that no one can decipher, all the way to a different country. And one of the clients was like, hey, thank you, bro, for literally carrying our burdens. It's hilarious. But I would destroy our hard drives before I let any fucking governmental agency or any lawyer ask shit about any of you guys. That's just the level of discretion I pride myself in. Obviously, there's a process to it, but I don't mean to make it sound so crude. Bottom line is, discretion is really important. So, for those of you who are afraid of a risk to your reputation, firstly, chances are you're not even going to be saying anything that will put you at risk in a session with a reboot coach. That's just what you think. You assume it will put you at risk. But gentlemen, it is 2026. Talking about a problem with pornography addiction or some weird fetish is not as bad as it is made out to be in your mind. Oftentimes, when executives see other executives, attorneys, high visibility people in one of our private group sessions that are never recorded, they immediately feel comfortable. They're like, holy shit, this dude's a politician. He has so much to lose. Yet here he is talking about the escorts that he picked up last weekend. Okay, cool. This is a safe space. Next is, sometimes, brother, you can be hiding your addictive behavior behind some other sort of disorder. See, sexual addiction is often masked by prescriptions, opioids, antidepressants, or just the belief that you're, oh my God, I'm just such a fucking high sex drive maniac, bro. Like I'm driven to a fault by my hard dick. That's why I'm so successful. Despite clear damage to your relationship and to your health, my brother. So be very careful that you're not hiding this behind other disorders. That's one of the main reasons why a lot of men don't seek help, successful men. Divorce and children is the eighth one. Listen, it can feel like a one-way ticket to divorce and custody loss. I get it. And I know it's easier for you to preserve this illusion of a perfect family instead of seeking help. Because you're like, man, if my wife even knew half the shit, not even half the shit, if she knew one of the things that I've done, I'm done for, bro. She has no idea of this other life. It's fine. We're not one of those programs that's just like, you must disclose to your wife, bro. The truth will set you free. We realize that that just comes from the Bible. No, don't disrespect to the great book. I love that book. However, the truth can also destroy another person's life. So we understand there's a time and place for disclosure. But this isn't about your wife, and this isn't about your kids at this point. This is about you, the hard-working breadwinner, and the pain that you are in. Let's fix you first. And then once your head is straight, then we can start talking about whether or not we need to talk to your wife or your kids. We have countless clients of ours that have worked with us, successfully ended their sexual addiction and their out of control sexual behavior with pornography, and their wife had no idea that 13 years ago or 12 years ago, their husband was a full-blown porn addict, and he's never gone back to it. He always has the option of telling her, but in some cases, it's over. He's done with it. He's moved on with his life. I'm not saying, and I'm not here to moralize, I'm not saying it's good or bad. I'm just telling you people actually do that and move on with their life. And that's what's important. Extreme rationalization is the ninth one, okay? Okay. Let's just call one thing out. You're not a successful individual because you are easily influenced. You're pretty good at rationalizing, justifying, and doing whatever the fuck it is that you want to do. Basically, confidence fuels your justifications. You can easily say, I'm too busy for relationships. You can say, porn is the only way I perform. You can say that I need to look at my P&L every single morning. You can say that I need to be personally getting on the phone and making sales and going to see clients, even though I'm the founder and CEO of the client. You can say that I never settle for less than $1.5 million in revenue each month. You can say it only happens on business trips. That's the only time that I fuck escorts. you are really good at extreme rationalization across the board, and nobody holds you accountable. That is one of the reasons why you find it very difficult to seek help. And the final one is that stigma. See, addiction typically is associated with weakness and failure. And that is interesting because it's a trait that high achievers are trained to reject weakness and failure. When in reality, you are probably compulsive about certain things in your company. Some of you are compulsive about looking at a bank account. Some of you are compulsive about that bottom line. Some of you are compulsive about your fulfillment of your product. Some of you are compulsive about your quality control. Some of you are compulsive about your top of funnel, your middle of funnel, your bottom of funnel. Listen, the truth is you are compulsive about something, and you do not consider those things to be weaknesses or failures. At Elevated Recovery, we do not, and I personally do not view addiction as a weakness or as a failure. As a matter of fact, what we understand is that many high-performing individuals have needed that addiction in the first place in order to be successful. And our job at Elevated Recovery is to perform the operation that transforms and reboots that thing without impacting your self-image as a successful individual or impacting all the success that you've built up. Because vulnerability feels more dangerous in many cases than the addiction itself. So the truth is, listen, this addictive behavior, it doesn't discriminate by income, by intelligence, or by achievements. But rebooting requires honesty and the courage to step off that fucking pedestal. I know all of these things I talked about, some of them hit you, some of them didn't. But listen, this is the right place if you're a high performer to seek help from other high performers. If this resonates, I want you to know you're not alone and your help we give you can remain private, strategic, and effective. Click on one of the links in the description below this video, schedule a call, and let's see how we can help you. I'm JK, your brother in this struggle. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Porn Reboot podcast. I'll speak to you later on in the week. If you found this episode helpful, here are 4 ways I can help you with your out-of-control sexual behavior for free. The first way is to grab a free copy of my book, Confessions of a Porn Addict, 7 Secrets of Porn-Free Men at elevatedrecovery.org, or visit the link in the description below this episode. The second way is, if you're not sure where to start, but you'd like to learn more about my team and I, if you'd like to spend time with like-minded professionals and business owners who are controlling their behavior, then join our free and confidential group, the Porn Reboot group on Facebook. There's a link to join in the description below this episode. The third way is if you need help right now because you have a burning issue, your behavior with pornography is hurting you mentally or emotionally, you're about to lose your relationship, you want to live up to your potential, be an authentic man, and free yourself from shame, guilt, and underachieving, then click on the link in the description below this episode that says free coaching call. And the fourth way is to leave us a 5-star review if you enjoy this podcast, so that we can reach more men who are struggling in silence and bring back the lessons we learn from coaching them to freedom.